Alex never expected that one simple sentence could change everything. For 6 months, he truly believed he and Emily were building something real. They planned trips, talked about the future, spent weekends inseparable. But then, out of nowhere, Emily looked him in the eye and said she didn't want labels and only wanted something fun. The air around them shifted instantly. Alex felt the ground fall from under him, but he tried to stay calm, pretending it didn't sting. He didn't know that this moment would be the spark for a storm of jealousy, mind games, and a truth far uglier than he imagined. What he thought was a simple change in expectations would soon turn into a drama-filled battle of emotions, lies, and control. When Emily told Alex she didn't want labels, it felt like someone had quietly pulled the brake on something he thought was moving forward smoothly. He replayed her words over and over. "I just want something fun. I don't want anything serious right now." She said it so casually, as if the last 6 months hadn't meant anything at all. As if the nights they stayed up talking until 3 a.m. were just background noise. As if the plans they made for summer were just jokes she never intended to keep. Alex didn't argue. He didn't beg for clarity or ask her to reconsider. Instead, he nodded, told her he understood, and kept his face as unreadable as possible. But inside, something shifted. He had always been the kind of guy who respected boundaries, even when they hurt. So if Emily wanted no labels, then he decided he would give her exactly that. The next few days were strangely quiet between them. Emily still texted, still sent memes, still reacted to his stories, but there was a different tone to it all. She acted as if nothing had changed. As if they were still, unofficially but kind of official. But Alex forced himself to see things as they were, not as he wished they were. One night, while lying on his couch staring at the ceiling, he realized he had been holding onto a version of Emily that didn't exist anymore. Maybe never existed. She kept him close enough to feel wanted, but distant enough to avoid responsibility. And he had let her. He had convinced himself that patience would eventually turn into commitment. But her no labels made everything clear. He was investing in someone who wasn't willing to choose him. So Alex made a choice for himself. He wouldn't cut her off, but he would stop orbiting around her. He would stop treating her like a priority when she only treated him like an option. He created dating profiles again, not out of revenge, but out of acceptance. If she didn't want exclusivity, then he wouldn't act like they were exclusive. The first time he matched with someone new, he hesitated. It felt strange, almost disloyal, even though Emily had made it explicitly clear that loyalty wasn't part of the deal. But after a moment, he reminded himself that he wasn't breaking any rule. He was simply following the structure she had created. He started talking to Hannah, a girl who was funny, warm, and refreshingly straightforward. Then he met Bella, who had an energy that made conversations effortless. And for the first time in months, Alex felt something he hadn't felt with Emily in a long time: freedom. He didn't hide any of it. He posted normal stories, went out more, and stopped waiting for Emily's approval before making plans. He wasn't trying to make her jealous. He was just living the life she had indirectly pushed him toward. But Alex had no idea that this shift, this simple act of taking her words seriously, was exactly the thing that would start unraveling Emily's calm facade. And he didn't know that she was about to react in a way that proved she never wanted no labels. She only wanted control. Alex didn't expect anything dramatic to happen when he started going on a few casual dates. He wasn't trying to replace Emily or rub anything in her face. He was simply doing what she said she wanted, living without labels, without expectations, without the invisible promise that he would stay put while she explored her freedom. His first date with Hannah was easy. They grabbed pizza, talked about their favorite childhood TV shows, and laughed like they had known each other for years. It wasn't romantic or intense, it was simply light. Refreshing. A reminder that connection didn't have to feel like walking on emotional eggshells. A few days later, he met up with Bella at a small art gallery downtown. She had a playful confidence, the kind that made everything around her feel brighter. Alex found himself enjoying the moment, instead of wondering whether he was saying the wrong thing or reading too much into someone's mixed signals. For once, he wasn't overthinking. He wasn't waiting for someone to love him correctly. He was letting things unfold naturally. He didn't hide it either. If he went out, he posted a simple picture of his food or the place he visited. Nothing wild, nothing intimate. Just normal life. Normal freedom. But Emily noticed everything. The first sign was subtle. She replied to one of his stories with a dry, "Looks fun." Then an hour later, another message, "Who were you with?" Alex stared at his phone, slightly amused and slightly confused. This was the same woman who insisted they weren't exclusive. The same woman who wanted space. The same woman who told him she didn't want anything serious. He typed back honestly, "Just a friend." Her response came instantly. "Oh, right, cool." But it wasn't cool. Not for her. Not even a little. Over the next few days, Emily started watching his stories within seconds of him posting them. She suddenly wanted to hang out more, sending messages like, "What are you doing tonight?" or "We should catch up soon." When he said he was busy, she pressed harder. "With who? Are you going on another date?" Alex sensed the shift immediately. Emily sounded irritated, unsettled, maybe even threatened. But he didn't feel guilty. She was the one who set the boundaries. He was just following them. One evening, as he was getting ready to meet Hannah for coffee, Emily called him out of nowhere. Her voice had that slightly sharp edge, the tone of someone trying to sound casual but failing. "So, you're really seeing other people now?" she asked. Alex paused, then answered plainly, "Yeah, you said you didn't want labels." There was silence on the other end, the kind that says everything without saying a word. Emily finally replied, "I didn't think you'd actually do it." Her voice cracked just a little, but it wasn't sadness. It was disbelief. As if she expected him to wait. As if she expected him to quietly stay in the background until she made up her mind. And that was the moment Alex realized something important. Emily didn't fear losing him. She feared losing control. What was supposed to be a calm, open dynamic was about to shift into jealousy, accusations, and emotional chaos. Emily wasn't done yet. Not even close. Friday night was supposed to be simple. A casual dinner with a few mutual friends. Nothing intense, nothing dramatic. Alex arrived relaxed, ready to enjoy a normal evening, but the moment he walked in and saw Emily already at the table, he felt a familiar tension forming in the air. She looked up at him with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. It was the kind of smile that hides a storm behind it. He sat down across from her, keeping things polite, neutral. He talked with the group, laughed at a few jokes, shared updates about work. Everything was fine, until someone asked if he had plans after dinner. Before Alex could answer, Emily cut in with a sharp, "Yeah, I'm sure he's busy with one of his new girls." The entire table went quiet. Alex blinked, unsure if she was joking. She was. He kept his voice calm. "I'm just hanging out later, that's all." But Emily didn't let it go. She leaned forward, eyes narrowing slightly. "You've been really busy lately. Always out, always with someone." He felt every eye at the table shift between them. It was uncomfortable, but also strangely clarifying. Emily wasn't just annoyed, she was upset. Not hurt. Not confused. Upset that he wasn't staying in the box she built for him. When dessert came, Emily stood up to walk outside for air. A few minutes later, one of their friends nudged Alex. "Maybe just check on her," they whispered. Reluctantly, he stepped outside. He found Emily leaning against the wall, arms folded tightly. She didn't look at him when she spoke. "Are you doing all this to hurt me?" Alex blinked in genuine confusion. What are you talking about? She finally turned toward him, her expression a mix of frustration and insecurity. You going out with girls, posting things, acting like you don't care. He let out a slow breath, forcing himself not to react sharply. You told me you didn't want labels. I'm not doing anything wrong. Emily shook her head quickly, almost angrily. That's not what I meant. Alex frowned. It's exactly what you said. For a moment, her confidence cracked. Her voice softened, but the edge didn't disappear. I don't know, I thought you'd still focus on us, even without the label. There it was. The truth he had suspected for weeks. She didn't want a relationship, but she didn't want him to move on either. She wanted freedom without consequences, options without commitment, control without responsibility. Alex stayed quiet, letting the weight of her words settle. He wasn't angry, just tired. Tired of guessing, tired of the emotional tug-of-war, tired of someone who only wanted him when she felt him slipping away. Emily stepped closer, lowering her voice. I don't like seeing you with other girls. He held her gaze. But you don't want to be with me. She didn't respond. Because she couldn't. There was no justification that wouldn't expose the truth she wasn't ready to admit. Inside the restaurant, the laughter continued, but outside, the silence between them said everything. Emily wasn't confused about her feelings. She was confused about her control. And this was only the beginning of her unraveling. A few days after the tense Friday night dinner, Emily texted Alex asking if they could talk. Her message was unusually serious, without emojis, without her usual playful tone. Alex hesitated, but agreed to meet her at a quiet coffee shop near the park. When he arrived, she was already there, nervously tapping her fingers on the table. She didn't waste time with small talk. The moment he sat down, she exhaled sharply and said, I need to explain something. Her voice wavered in a way he had never heard before. Alex waited, arms crossed loosely, giving her space to speak. Emily stared down at her cup, turning it slowly in her hands. Finally, she whispered, the reason I said I didn't want labels wasn't because I didn't like you. She paused, searching for the right words. It was because I wasn't sure if I wanted to get back together with my ex. The words hit Alex with a cold, blunt force. There it was, the truth he didn't expect but somehow always feared. He stayed silent, forcing himself not to react too quickly. Emily continued, her voice shaking more now. Jason reached out a few months ago. We talked a little, and I didn't know how I felt. I didn't want to commit to you if I might go back to him. Alex leaned back slowly, processing every word. He wasn't angry, not yet. But something inside him hardened. He wasn't surprised, but hearing it out loud made everything click into place. The indecision. The mixed signals. The sudden distance. The rules she set that only seemed to benefit her. Emily looked up, eyes glossy. I didn't want to lose you either. So I thought keeping things open would buy me time. Alex raised an eyebrow. Buy you time to choose between us. She swallowed hard and nodded. Her silence was louder than any excuse she could have made. He took a long breath, keeping his voice level. So when I started dating other people, that scared you. She nodded again, almost instantly. Yes. Because I realized I didn't want Jason anymore. Not when I saw you moving on. There it was, the real truth. She didn't regret stringing him along. She regretted losing control of him. Emily leaned forward, reaching for his hand, but he pulled back slightly. I was confused, she said, voice trembling. I thought I could figure things out without hurting you. But when I saw you with other girls, I panicked. I didn't think you'd actually date someone else. Alex stared at her, feeling a mixture of disappointment and clarity settle in his chest. You didn't want me, he said quietly. You just didn't want anyone else to have me. Emily's lips parted as if she wanted to argue, but no words came out. Because he was right. And she knew it. For the first time, Alex saw everything clearly. He hadn't lost someone who loved him. He had escaped someone who kept him as a backup plan. Emily lowered her gaze again, tears slipping down her cheek. "I'm sorry," she whispered. But the apology felt late. And empty. And driven by fear. Fear of losing comfort, not fear of losing him. Alex stood up slowly, letting the chair slide back. "I deserved honesty," he said. "And you chose convenience." Emily didn't chase after him. She just sat there, head in her hands, as the truth finally landed on both of them. It was the moment Alex realized the relationship he thought he was fighting for had never truly existed. After their conversation at the cafe, Alex assumed things would naturally fade out. He expected distance, maybe a few awkward texts, and then silence. But Emily's reaction took a completely different turn, one he never imagined she was capable of. Within days, she started appearing in places she had never gone before. Alex would show up at the gym, and suddenly she'd be walking in 5 minutes later, pretending it was a coincidence. He'd stop by the grocery store after work. And there she was in the same aisle, acting surprised to see him. At first, he brushed it off as bad timing. But it kept happening. Too often. Too perfectly aligned with his routine. Then came the sudden burst of activity on social media. Emily posted cryptic quotes every morning. Long captions about being replaced, loyalty, and people who don't know what they lost. Her friends began liking and sharing them in obvious patterns. Some even messaged Alex, subtly pressuring him, saying things like, "She's hurting a lot," or "It would mean a lot if you two talked." But Emily didn't stop at online guilt trips. She went further, much further. She told her mother that Alex had made promises of a relationship, painting him as someone who misled her. She told Jason, her ex, that Alex was manipulating her emotions. She even told her close friends that Alex had been dating other women behind her back long before she said she wanted. No labels. None of it was true. But Emily wasn't telling stories for truth. She was telling them for sympathy. For attention. For leverage. One night, Alex was out with Hannah when he noticed a familiar figure at the other end of the bar. Emily. She stared at them like she had rehearsed the scene in her mind and was now watching it unfold in slow motion. Her eyes burned with something between anger and desperation. Before Alex could react, Emily stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to make people turn. The next morning, Alex woke up to a wall of texts. Long paragraphs. Accusations. Guilt-tripping. Messages like, "I can't believe you'd do this to me, and after everything I gave you, this is how you treat me." It was bewildering. She was acting like he had betrayed a contract they never agreed to. But the breaking point came 3 days later. Alex returned home from work to find a large suitcase sitting in front of his apartment door. Emily stood next to it, arms crossed, eyes red from crying but filled with determination. Before he could speak, she lifted her chin and said, "I'm moving in." Alex froze. It didn't make sense. They weren't together. They hadn't been together for weeks. She was the one who wanted no labels. Yet here she was, acting like they were a committed couple going through some dramatic reconciliation scene. He took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Emily, you can't do this," he said quietly. But she pushed past him, rolling the suitcase toward his door. "I'm not losing you," she insisted. "I don't care what it takes." Her voice cracked, but her determination didn't. It was no longer about love. It was panic. Possession. A need to reclaim something she thought belonged to her, even if she never wanted it in the first place. Alex stepped between her and the door, gently blocking her path. "Emily," he said firmly, "you need to go home. This is not healthy. For either of us." For a moment, she stared at him like she didn't recognize him. Then her expression collapsed into raw frustration. "You're choosing them over me," she hissed. But Alex didn't respond, because he finally understood. Emily wasn't fighting for him. She was fighting for control. That night was the turning point. Emily was unraveling, and the world around her was about to see it too. Emily didn't disappear after the night. She showed up with a suitcase. If anything, that moment seemed to push her into an even more chaotic spiral. Alex tried to block her number, reduce contact, and create distance, but Emily found new ways to force herself back into his life. And soon, she took the drama to a place Alex never expected: the internet. One afternoon, while Alex was at work, his phone started blowing up with notifications. Friends were sending screenshots. Coworkers were whispering. Someone even stopped by his desk and asked, "Is this about you?" Confused, Alex checked the links. There it was. Emily had posted a long TikTok video titled, "The Truth About Being Led On by Someone You Love." In the clip, she cried on camera, saying Alex had promised her a future. She claimed he had manipulated her emotionally, dated multiple girls behind her back, and abandoned her after she opened up about her trauma. She painted herself as the victim, fragile and betrayed. And because the internet loves drama, the video exploded with sympathy. Comments poured in. "Men ain't loyal. You deserve better. He used you." Alex felt sick. He didn't even know how to respond, or if he should respond at all. But the internet wasn't done with Emily. Within hours, someone recognized her. A woman commented, "Isn't this the same girl who tried to get back with her ex last month?" Then another, "Didn't she say she didn't want a relationship?" Soon, people began stitching her video, digging through old posts, pulling up public comments she had made about keeping options open. Then the biggest blow landed. Jason's fiancée, Megan, made a TikTok of her own. In Megan's video, she calmly explained that Emily had reached out to Jason multiple times behind Alex's back. She even showed screenshots, polite but undeniable, of Emily asking Jason to meet up, saying she felt confused and missed what they had. Megan clarified everything. Emily wasn't abandoned. She was juggling two men and got upset when one of them stopped waiting around. The internet turned instantly. Comments flipped from supportive to furious. People called Emily manipulative, dishonest, even dangerous. Others demanded she delete the video and apologize. Some went as far as stitching her crying clip with sarcastic filters and dramatic reenactments. Her story collapsed in real time, and she couldn't stop it. Hours later, Emily deleted the TikTok. But screenshots were everywhere. Her name was suddenly attached to every embarrassing, exposed detail. She tried posting a second video claiming she was misunderstood, but it only made things worse. People accused her of playing the victim again, and the comments section became brutal. Humiliated, Emily shut down all her accounts and disappeared from social media entirely. A week later, Alex got a message from an unknown number. It was her. She had gone back to her parents' house. Her messages were long, emotional, and filled with blame. She insisted everything happened because she cared too much, and said Alex ruined her life by moving on. But Alex didn't reply. He finally understood that no amount of empathy or patience could fix someone who refused to take responsibility for their own actions. Emily wasn't trying to heal. She was trying to pull him back into her chaos. And for the first time in months, Alex felt nothing but relief. He wasn't angry. He wasn't heartbroken. He was finally free from her drama, her guilt, her games, and the emotional maze she kept dragging him into. The internet had exposed the truth. And Emily, stripped of her narrative, was left with nothing but the consequences she created herself. Alex walked away from everything that once tied him to Emily. But he didn't do it with anger. He did it with clarity. He finally understood that love built on confusion, jealousy, and shifting intentions was never real stability. He realized that he had spent months trying to decode mixed signals instead of listening to the truth hidden between them. Emily's tears and apologies came too late, arriving only after she realized she had lost control, not love. For the first time, Alex chose himself without guilt. He allowed the silence between them to grow, not as punishment, but as closure. Days later, he felt a strange peace settle in, the kind that comes only after stepping out of a storm you didn't know was consuming you. He didn't hate her, nor did he miss the chaos. He simply accepted that some endings are necessary. And with that acceptance, he finally made room for a future not defined by someone else's uncertainty.